Hi everyone, and if you're new here, welcome. My name's Katie. Today I'm going to be making my college stats and ECs video. I got a lot of requests through my past YouTube video or from people on Instagram or texting me just kind of wanting to know where I kind of was as a student and an applicant. And I was one of those people that when I'd watch those college reaction videos, I'd always see if they had a stats video to just kind of like compare myself, see if I could get into kind of like the same schools. So today I thought I would do that for you guys. And I hope you enjoy. And yes, my hair is blue, we're in quarantine, what's new? Okay, let's start with academics. So throughout my 4 years of high school, I took pretty much the higher level classes that my school offered. My freshman year was all honors, my sophomore year was all honors and an AP class because that was the first one sophomores were allowed to take. My junior year was a mix of AP, IB, and honors classes, and then my senior year was AP, dual credit, and honors classes because they discontinued IB at my school. I would say overall, I had all A's in every one of those classes, even the IB, AB dual credit, except I had 2 B's my entire high school career, and that was in A Push. I had an 89, which is a B+, and then I had a B in AP Calc, and that is the hardest class I've ever taken in my high school career, and I am very proud of that B, let's just say, because that's a lot of hard work that I put in to get that B. Overall, I had let me see, my GPA was weighted a 4.4 and unweighted was a 3.999. I'm not sure if people round up with that, but essentially I had a 4.0 when you really round it together. A 4.0 or 3.999, whichever one you want to say. Essentially, I just did really well with my grades, and the weighted GPA was pretty high because, again, I got all A's in those higher level classes, or almost all A's, 2 B's. So an overview of my academics would be that I pretty much took the hardest classes my school offered. I didn't take a crazy amount of APs, so don't be kind of like scared that like, oh my god, I have to take 15 APs to get into like any of these amazing colleges the US offers. I mean, I took 4, but I also took 2 IB and 3 dual credits. So overall, higher level college courses, I took a pretty good amount of them, but I made sure that they were in interests that I like was really in, like really geared towards, mainly being like English classes and social studies classes. Okay, second, let's talk about scores, standardized testing, all that. So I took both the SAT and the ACT spring of my junior year. I went into both of them without any studying, former knowledge, tutoring, any of that, because I wanted to see which test I was naturally better at. I did way better on the ACT than the SAT. The score equivalent was like whatever score you got on the SAT, I did about 200 points better than that on my ACT. So I naturally learned that I was better suited to take that test. Then I was able to study on specific subject areas that I wasn't as strong in and was able to raise my score up to about where I wanted it. I was one of those students who took standardized testing multiple times until I got the score I wanted. Most of my schools accepted super scoring, so I really took advantage of that and was hoping to just improve on the specific areas that I didn't do too well in. For example, the first time I ever took the ACT, I came back with an almost perfect score on the reading section. I got a 35, and when I got the answer sheet back, but you had to pay a little extra to get the answer sheet back, I realized I only got 1 question wrong. So after that, I was like, okay, we're good with reading, let's focus on the other 3 subjects. I did that. I did a test booklet, like I got one of those booklets from Amazon. I started quizzing myself on that. I was able to improve my English score up to, I think, a 33. But then I could not get science and math down completely, mostly because the science was just overall difficult, and when there was like a difficult problem in front of me, I just was like my brain was just short-circuiting and I didn't know what to do. With math, it was mostly about my timing. I always couldn't get like the last 10 questions. I was always like rushing to the end, and then I'm like, screw, I don't know how to do any of these. So I did get a one-on-one tutor just to help me with those 2 subject areas. We only met a few times, so it wasn't like a crazy like 30-hour thing. I think we only met about 4 or 5 times to kind of hone in on those specific skills. And she gave me like homework to work on, and through that I was able to raise my science score 2 points, which was huge. So overall, I finished out with my highest one sitting ACT being a 31, and my super score I got raised to a 33, which was my goal. I originally had a 32 super score, and I knew that a 33 was about in the range of a lot of my really selective schools, and so I was like, okay, that's pretty much the best I could do, and I was really happy with that. Next, I'm going to be talking about extracurriculars and activities I did outside the classroom. So right here, I have my resume. So to start off, I was on principal's list all 4 years. I was a Sancta Crux Scholar, which basically means I received a merit scholarship, and to get that money, I had to take high-level classes all 4 years. I was in the National Honor Society my junior and senior year. I received Swanee, the University of the South Book Award for Excellence in Writing, which essentially means I was a very strong writer, and my teachers recognized that, and I was awarded that. That was my junior year. My 10th grade year, I was awarded Honors English 10 Course Award, which basically means I had the highest grade in that class. And then my junior year, I got the Spanish 3 Course Award. Don't know how. Apparently I had the highest grade in the class. Okay. I was also a honorable mention for the 2019 National Spanish Examination. And that was my junior year. So those are a summary of my academic honors and awards. Next, I'm going to talk about my leadership positions. These are within organizations or activities I did. So all 4 years, I was on Student Government Association. I was an advisory representative in my 9th grade year. I was treasurer my 10th grade year, class vice president my junior year, and then I was executive board vice president, which basically means that's the executive board of the entire student council. So I was vice president for that. Then I was the captain of 2 of my sports teams. My indoor club field hockey team my sophomore year, I was a captain. And then I was captain of my summer league team for field hockey, and that was the transition from sophomore to junior year. I was captain. I was also in the Big Sister, Little Sister mentorship program, which basically meant seniors were helping incoming freshmen adjust to high school life. I was also the president of my book club, the Circle of Sisters book club, and I love that club. So fun to be the president. I got to lead a lot of activities, pick books, all that kind of thing. And then I was also a student ambassador, representative, and tour guide for my first 3 years of high school. It got a little difficult my senior year with my knee injury because a lot of walking and stuff like that. Next thing I'm going to be talking about is community service. Overall, I did community service all 4 years of high school, and I did approximately 100 hours. So to start off, I worked a lot with elderly residents. I did a lot of art activities. They really loved to paint. That was super fun to teach them. And then we did a lot of computer skills. One of the memories I specifically have doing that was there was one woman who didn't know how to send emails, and I set up an email account for her, showed her how to email, and she was able to connect with a lot of her children, grandchildren, that kind of thing, and that was really special. And then another thing I did was work with kids. One place I worked at, I helped an aftercare program, and I was helping to tutor kids that needed extra help with their homework. And then another thing I did was I worked with an organization that had a summer camp for disabled kids, physical, mental, emotional disabilities, all that kind of thing. And I led sports activities with them, and I also taught them computer skills. Next was my work experience. So I worked as a volunteer swim coach throughout the summer because my swim team lost a few coaches, and it became really hectic a lot, so I'd kind of step in and just help manage the team and help with the younger kids. So I did that. Again, this was non-paid. This was just volunteer. Just wanted to help out. I was paid as a camp counselor. I did a field hockey camp over the summer for 2 years, and that was paid work experience I did. Another thing I did put on my resume that is not, I guess, like, it wasn't a formal job. I did work as a freelance makeup artist a few times, where I'd have people that had parties or quinceañeras, stuff like that, that needed help doing makeup and stuff like that, and I was paid to do that. Next thing I'm going to be talking about is activities on my resume. So to start off, the thing I was most involved in was varsity field hockey. I played 3 years of varsity field hockey up until my junior year, where at the end of the season, I suffered a career-ending multi-ligament knee injury, and followed with that, I had a failed surgery and will need surgery in the future if I ever want to be fully functional again. I was a JV member for the first few weeks of my freshman year to kind of learn everything because it was a new sport to me before I was promoted to a varsity starter. I did receive MVP award of my JV team for that. Then my senior year, I landed the lead role of Trunchbull in Matilda the Musical. Very shocking, let's just say. It was great. It was a great experience. Hard work, super fun, made a new family, and I'm so glad I was able to do both athletics and theater in my high school years, because that's what I pretty much wanted to always do. I did both of them in middle school and hoped that somehow I'd be able to do both in high school. Then I was really active in a few clubs. Our Minds Matter, I wrote, produced, and edited resources on mental health awareness. I was in the Booster Club, or the Tartan Spirit Club. We went to games. I carpooled a bunch of underclassmen, made posters. Fun time. I was also in the Circle of Sisters Book Club all 4 years before being president my senior year. I was in Best Buddies Club, Acapella Club, Drama Club, all 4 years again. Great time. And then other sports, I was indoor club field hockey, summer league field hockey, on a swim team all 4 years, JV lacrosse, indoor lacrosse, and ice hockey. So 4-sport athlete, good time. All those sports, again, were up until my knee injury. I did swim after my knee injury. That was fun. With only one leg. Yes, I kicked in the pool with only one leg. Next thing I'm going to be talking about is essays. So overall, I had my personal statement, which every school received. And personal statement, I always had advice. Don't talk about, like, sports injuries. Don't talk about, like, your grandma. Don't talk about, like, very just common generic things. So I wanted to find something very specific that you wouldn't find on my resume and you wouldn't know from just talking to me. So I tried to think about what I could write for this essay. I had a long list of things that are, like, very specific towards me. My number one piece of advice that I heard a lot was write an essay where you can only be the person that wrote that. There's no one else that had that same experience. It has to be very personal. Talk about you. Let them hear your voice. So, what my essay was on was my fascination for weather, hurricanes, and how I went from loving them as a child to then realizing how destructive they are, and then kind of losing that fascination because I felt guilty for it, and then ended up finding that passion again in high school through journalism. So overall, the basic concept of my essay was, as a child, I always read books about hurricanes and weather, and then during Hurricane Irene, I was in the 3rd grade, and I was at my grandparents' beach house. I was really excited that it was hitting the beach house. I don't know why. I just, like, was so excited because, like, I never experienced a hurricane. But everyone in my house and my grandparents was freaking out. And it kind of clicked to me that, like, hurricanes equal bad. And I just felt guilty because I'd always loved them so much and thought they were so cool. So I just kind of tucked away that fascination and just kind of let it dissipate and just kind of lost it. That was until high school, sophomore year. I took multimedia journalism, and we talked about all types of journalism. I learned that I fell in love with it. I fell in love with writing and stuff like that. And then through that, I was asked to do weather segments. Oh my god, I, like, dove right back in to, like, learning all the science behind weather. And I gave snow reports literally every time there was a snowstorm coming. And I just realized that, like, I could love weather, but do it in a way that I was helping others through, like, broadcasting. I was essentially, like, giving tips and stuff like that and just informing people. And so I kind of wrote my essay on guilty pleasures. That was, like, the overall thing was, oh, guilty pleasures, people like The Bachelor or chocolate. My guilty pleasure as a kid was liking hurricanes. And then I said in my kind of, like, final line, now when people ask what my guilty pleasure is, I can confidently say meteorology. I really learned that I like the science of weather, and I was able to combine both my passions of English and science through that. So that was my essay. Pretty special. It really showcased my writing skills throughout my essay because I had multiple college reps and my college advisor read it, and they all said that you could clearly hear my voice through it. Next thing I'm going to be talking about is Georgetown specific advice, mainly concerning the essays, because there were many essays for Georgetown. They had their own application. There were 4 essays for Georgetown. Forget the order of them. I think the first one was, like, a special skill you have, and then there's one about, like, kind of, like, talk about more on a activity you do in school or out of school, that kind of thing. And then there was one on basically as your personal statement. Just use that essay as personal statement essay. And then the last one was about what does education mean to you, and kind of like specifically what does a Georgetown education mean to you. Because I did apply to the college for Georgetown, and that was their question for college applicants. So, advice. First essay was about a special skill. I thought this was a joke. I was like, is this like, oh, I can say the alphabet in like 2 seconds? I didn't know like what that meant really. So I talked to my college counselor, and she just said, talk about a skill you have. So I actually talked about video editing. I did a lot of video editing throughout high school for different clubs I did. I did talk about my mental health awareness club that I did a lot of promotional material on in writing, directing a script, and producing a video. I also have like a fun cooking show that I do. Not that big of a deal, but I just kind of like making videos and stuff like that. So I talked about that aspect and how I'm really open to learning more in college about that. My next essay was about talking about like something you're involved in that you want to talk about more about. I talked about student council, and I talked about both the like the highlights and like the challenges I really had to go through with student council. So I kind of talked about how like I was really passionate about it, but I talked about the lessons it taught me, especially one being no matter what you do, there's always going to be people that don't like the decision you made. And then also just listening to other opinions, because I had to learn that even if I wanted something, I had to know that I was representing people and I had to go with what they wanted. So it was a really interesting thing, especially for someone like me who's interested in government and law and that kind of thing, and just knowing that overall concept. I think those are really good life lessons to learn. So I talked about that. Next was my personal statement, which I already told you guys about. I included that. I thought it was pretty fun to kind of like get everything about me and then just be like, bomb, she also just likes weather. Weird fact about me. Then the fourth essay, which I think was probably the most important one, was about what does a Georgetown education mean to you? So Georgetown is a Jesuit Catholic school. Jesuit morals are a big part of my identity. I grew up going to a Catholic elementary school, middle school, high school, and that was just kind of a foundation that I think I was just grown up in. It really played a lot into my morals and the type of person I am. So I talked about how I really wanted to further my education at that type of institution. I talked about that Georgetown is a very diverse place. You have a ton of international students coming with all different opinions, people from all over the country. And I talked about how it was important to me to be exposed to a variety of opinions, but everyone there really follows the same Jesuit morals. Essentially, like, you're all here because you want to be there, you want to be a part of this community, and I just talked about that. Thank you for watching my video, guys. I'm going to give a final round of advice for people that are applying to college, juniors, anyone in high school that just kind of wants to know what to do kind of your 4 years to be a good applicant. Number one is start off early. Your freshman year, start getting into new activities, because it really is good for when you're applying to college to say, yeah, I was involved with this for all 4 years, versus kind of starting later, like maybe in your junior year. So start early, try to get involved in as much as you can, and find what you're passionate about. I will be honest, I started like my freshman year joining like 10 clubs, and then I found like 4 or 5 clubs that I was specifically interested in, and then keep up with those passions. Find things you're interested in, versus just doing them to do them. All those clubs I listed, I was really interested and active in them because they're just things that I like to do. Next tip of advice would be same thing for standardized testing. Take both tests and figure out which one you're just naturally better at. That way when you're studying and preparing, you kind of know which one that you're going to need less help or need to spend less money on getting help on. That's another big thing. Third would be to maybe talk to students that are currently at the schools that you're applying to and kind of find out what they did specifically to get into the colleges they're at, or kind of just maybe some tips on essays for specifics. Like, for example, if you're applying to Georgetown, that was some of the advice I was able to give you on those specific essays, because a lot of schools will have like very specific essays. Make sure to get your voice throughout those essays. Personal statement, I kind of gave this advice already, but give them something that they're not going to already know about you. If you already listed on your resume that you're really active on your soccer team, maybe don't write your essay on your soccer team, unless there's a specific like lesson you learned or a specific event that occurred. What I'm trying to say is try to like bring something to the table that they're not going to already know about you. Make it interesting. And again, a lot of people I've been giving actually a lot of advice, especially on essays. I had a lot of my friends come to me asking for kind of advice on essays. Everyone always says like, oh my god, there's nothing unique about me. There is. Trust me, there is. You just got to find it. There's something, I mean, what I did is I just wrote a list of things that I like that like maybe no one would know about me, or just things I like, or maybe experiences you've been through. Because like, for example, I've been through like tons of weird experiences. One of them was like being trapped in a room during an earthquake, and I like had to like try to figure out how to get out. Like, just find something that is very interesting about you, or an experience that no one else had. Even if you don't think it's like super interesting, if no one else has it, that makes you unique. Overall, if anyone needs more advice or questions, leave them in the comments below or find me on my social medias. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and good luck if you're applying to colleges, good luck if you're in high school, good luck if you're also in quarantine, and I hope you guys have a great day.